我觉得你们比较可笑，You are peaceful.
Last week, there was a brutal Bloomberg article that really gives you the snapshot of social-economic situation for a lot of young men. The extent of men getting sent their own way. I mean, we have been saying this for years now. Anyone who is in touch with reality, with the facts on the ground for the average man, could see this coming. But now, the data is also coming in. Check this out, guys. It reads: young British men are NEETs more than women. Almost 460,000 18 to 24-year-old men in the UK were NEET on average in the first half of the year, a rate of more than 16%. For decades, far more women than men were classified as NEET, not in education, employment, or training. Thanks to government efforts to get more women in the workforce after the financial crisis, the gap had closed by the time pandemic struck in 2020. The question now for Prime Minister Keir Starmer is how to tackle rising worklessness in the male population. A fresh light has been shone on the particular problem of male inactivity in the wake of anti-immigration riots that engulfed the UK just weeks after the July 4 general election. The challenge facing the new government was laid bare in official figures last month. They showed almost 460,000 18 to 24-year-old men were NEET on average in the first half of the year, a rate of more than 16%. The rate for women was 13%. This is brutal, bro. Now, this gap might not seem too big to the untrained eyes, but there is a difference of 23%. 23, meaning being a male increases your chances of being a NEET by 23%. I actually checked it. Like, that is almost as powerful as having a degree. That is how staggering difference it is. And even better, this part of the article that I am about to show you is the crux of the issue, and more telling than the generic NEET ratios. Guys, pay attention here. Worryingly, almost 60% of male NEETs were inactive, meaning they were not looking for work. That number has risen around 45% since 2019. By contrast, the figure for women has barely changed. Campaigners say the health crisis that has hampered the labor market as a whole in recent years is having a big impact. 45% increase in men who are not even looking for work. This is a much more important number. Because it is a government trick to not consider anyone who isn't actively looking for work as not unemployed. Official figures don't even consider those men who don't even looking for work, those hundreds of thousands of men, as unemployed. Now, when you look at the generic numbers, NEET levels have been decreasing since the COVID was over. Overall, when you look at it, NEET levels are actually stable. Unemployment levels are lower, back to pre-COVID levels. But that is only because these stats don't even consider men who check out of society as unemployed. The official NEET and unemployment numbers might be looking stable on paper, but the reality is, the number of men who bitch out is up big time, 45% since 2019 in the UK. And the real number is likely even higher than this, very likely even higher. Those unemployment numbers don't tell you the whole story. Finally, we got a number for this, 45%. Almost 50% increase in just 5 years. Meanwhile, this number stayed the same for females. And it doesn't even take into account men that are underpaid. Doesn't even take into account men who get paid less compared to their female counterparts with similar credentials. Doesn't take into account the fact that they have to try harder than women in the labor market to find that job in the first place. I mean, everybody knows this. This is very well known. Like, even this 45% figure, 45% increase in men who check out of society doesn't give you the full picture. It is much easier to get hired as a female, everything else being equal. For the same title, for the same position, they even get paid a little bit more than men. In STEM field, that is. I mean, it is much easier for women to get positions in these STEM fields. These are very well-known facts. Everybody in the STEM industry knows this, and it is very easy to test this. Guys, create 2 resumes with very similar credentials, male and female, and then go apply to certain positions in STEM field, 100, 200 job postings. Go apply to them and see the results for yourself. And then the cop. Oh, health crisis hampered the labor market as a whole. It affected both men and women. But somehow women's rate of checking out of society stayed the same. It didn't increase one bit. This health crisis somehow only affected men, right? Guys, when someone doesn't want to acknowledge the reality, there is nothing you can do to make them. Now they have the data in front of them, and they are still coping, still don't want to ask the right questions.
So for 3 years, I've been looking at literature, and I've been trying to figure out, like, what can we do? And the science is very, very, like, disappointing. So this is why I haven't made much content about being bald, because I haven't found an answer. So that doesn't work, right? Like, I can't just make a video that says, y'all are screwed, I'm sorry about that.
It continues. During education, young men tend to be more confident about their next steps and their skills. But with the reality of trying to find a job, that confidence seems to fall away from young boys quite quickly. Brutal, bro. Everybody has a plan until the BP punches them in the face. You feel confident. They have that hope and energy. And when they finally face the realities on the ground, those hopes and dreams start to fade away. Brutal stuff, bro.
People say, how can it be over when it never began? No. There was a beginning. You did have a spirit. You had vigor. You were vivacious. You were effervescent. You were motivated. You had that fire. So people saying that, oh, it never began, so how can you say it was over? No, it did begin. You did have that fire one time in your life.
Young women tend to feel the burden of financial responsibility a little bit more, maybe. So they will take that job. They will take that low pay. Sure they will. And they are likely to stick it out a little bit more. Again, another example of looking at the facts, at the data, but not seeing the truth. Guys, there is a major difference between looking at the data, looking at the facts, and actually seeing them. This is such a laughable assumption. Oh, women will take that low-paying job. How does that even explain the 50% increase in men who drop out of society, who don't even look for work? The reason is very simple. The juice is simply not worth the squeeze anymore. The motivation for men to go to work and make 40k, 50k a year is just not there. Social contract is broken. Women now are getting those high-paying, white-collar STEM jobs. They have financial freedom. Promiscuity is encouraged. Young people are not having families. The saying 50s, you are working more for less. More from the article. With boys performing worse than girls at school, many are finding their options are limited by poor qualifications, which rule them out of some alternative routes into employment like apprenticeships. The cop, another cop. That has nothing to do with almost 50% increase in number of men dropping out of society, bitching out. Women always have been more nerdy at school. This is just an effort in not trying to see the real reasons. We end up with a squeeze in the labor market, where your graduates take the lowest skilled roles because there is no graduate roles. And they are squeezing the market for young people who have less qualifications. You get a graduate who's working in a coffee shop, when actually for low-skilled young people, that would be their natural job. Exactly. So, they admit that it ain't about grades or education. But they are still coping, because they can't accept the fact that women have it easier in the job market today. So they are chalking it up to grades at school or health issues. Anything but the truth, basically. Like, work for what? When the real purchasing power is going down, you realize that to those people you serve, your life means nothing. You take the subway, and then see the guy who was born to rich parents pass you by in his Porsche. In the past, men put up with that brutal mug, because they had something to live for. The social economic landscape was completely different. But now work for what? And jobs pay less in real terms too. Long gone are the days where you could buy a house by the time you hit 30. Just by working a couple of years, going to a factory, giving them a firm handshake, and working there a couple of years. And boom, you got yourself a house and a family. Because you didn't have to be in the top 5% of men in looks and money back then. You didn't have to compete with Chads who live on the other side of the world. You didn't have to compete with workers from the other side of the world for your job. You realize that to people you work for, your life means nothing. Why go through that when you don't get to reap the benefits? A lot of men just don't see the point of working anymore. So what do? You resort to modern escapism, like video games, watching TV shows and movies all day long in your basement. Because it beats the reality. Reality you have to face every day. Beats having to live that life for 30 years to be able to pay off that mortgage and finally retire.
Now, throughout history, you had kind of cultural or social institutions to deal with your population of cells. So, for example, the monastery would be one for sure, give a high status position to kind of channel these extra guys into. You'd create Vikings out of them. The Vikings were likely cells, not the sexy kind of Netflix Vikings that you think from the TV shows. The Portuguese explorers, there's strong evidence that they were cells, basically, sent on purpose.
Out of school and squeezed out of employment, young men are more likely to wait around for the perfect job opportunity to arise, even if that means they become economically inactive, while girls might just take anything. Part of the reason is that men can afford to, because many still live at home. Brutal, bro. A third of men aged 20 to 34 were living with their parents, compared to just 1 in 5 women in that age bracket. Brutal, bro. This is a brutal stat. Imagine a society where women are the ones out and about, working, where it is men that live in their parents' basement, watching Hammerhand at age 35, involuntarily single. Brutal stat, bro. A generation of men getting sent. No jobs. Only Hammerhand videos. Tough stuff, man. And then you got MGTOW still coping. Oh, women are going crazy, bro. MGTOW is winning. Women are losing their minds because we are going MGTOW. Men are not winning, dude. Wake up. They are getting sent.
But, society tells men that, you gotta remain strong. You gotta keep your head up no matter what you're going through in life. I don't believe in always keeping your head up in life. Sometimes you just gotta bow your head down.
But of course, the rider still puts the cart before the horse. This is next level logic failure. Oh, this 45% increase in number of men checking out of society is because they voluntarily choose to live with their parents. Yeah, dude. Whatever helps you cope. I am sure they love living with their parents at age 35. What is this pitiful cop, man? Them living with their parents, living at home, is the result, is not the cause, is not the why. The why is what I have already mentioned. Life is much harder for young men. And unlike women, men don't even get the benefits. We don't even get to reap the benefits. Like, even going on a date and having a partner is a hassle. But women have much more to live. Much more to enjoy in life. Of course, they will be more motivated to be out and about. They have much more to live for. What do you have to live for? Hammerhand videos. And these people, I am telling you guys, these people will not able to solve this. Once again, I am predicting 8 o'clock at 7:30. I am telling you this now, they won't able to solve this. Instead, what will they do? They will just label you the I word. That is how they are. Oh, you said something that I didn't like. I am gonna call you the I word. The I word comes out, guys. The vicious and vile attacks come out. Now, I am not sure how much longer it can continue. It can keep going on like this. I am not sure regarding this. Maybe we have underestimated or overestimated people's ability to just cope and get used to worse and worse conditions. But to answer this question truthfully, 2 ways. There are 2 ways you can tackle this. One, you gotta cut into corporate profits, which would entail several actions taken by the government. I am categorizing all practices under this. Globalization, other practices by companies to cut costs, outsourcing, automation, hiring practices need to be looked at, creating better compensating for positions, for jobs, greed of corporations, leading to higher and higher profit margins. Also, immigration, that needs to be looked at, leading to lower bargaining power for the workers. But this alone won't be enough. Without fixing the other side of this issue, which is the social aspect that motivates oofy-doofy average men to wake up every single morning to go to work, to grind their lives away. And that, the other leg of this issue, is the fact that women don't need men financially anymore. The oofy doofy can't hold the woman hostage anymore. The truth people don't want to hear is this. But this is what you need to be looking at. Women don't need the sub-average man's money anymore. This issue I am talking about is also contributing to the previous point. Women participating in the labor force and getting STEM degrees much easier than men is creating bigger competition for the traditionally male STEM jobs in the West. Sure, immigrants do increase competition as well for those STEM positions, but women also do. It doubles your competition. Not only against men you are competing anymore, but also women. Of course, people cannot voice this easily. People are scared. People are scared of getting labeled because they are gonna call you the I-word. Even Elon Musk, they are calling him the I-word. I know people will disagree with this, and I am not saying that this is feasible. I know that it ain't. But re-establishing the social landscape of 50s is the second part of tackling this issue. Increasing wages by what? 5%, 10% ain't enough, bro. You need a change in the social landscape where women stay at home and don't use dating apps, where average and subpar men actually have something to look forward to other than microwavable food and hammer-hand videos. But I know this ain't gonna happen. I know there ain't no putting the genie back in the bottle. Women now can show how much they always despised oofy doofy subpar looking men without being held hostage in a marriage. I am not under any illusions, guys. This ain't gonna happen. If it was in my power, I would be in favor of this. A woman staying at home and taking care of housework, marrying young. That would put those hundreds of thousands of men back in the labor force. But I don't have any power, guys. I can't change anything. What will send those young males in the UK, those men sitting on their behind and feeling sorry, back to the labor force is this. The real answer. Having a family that depends on them. A family that they can go to after a long day at work. Knowing that they are gonna get some action, even if it is once a week. I mean, you can't set the bar too high for the oofy doofy. I would say getting action every night, but come on, man. This is the oofy doofy we are talking about. Every night would be too much, but even once a week would have been enough. But now that social contract is broken. So what are you wage slaving for then? What is it for? To pay off some mortgage for the next 30 years. Wasting your youth, paying off some mortgage so that you can own a glorified prison cell. Cause let's be real, guys, that is what it is. A glorified prison cell where you are practically locked up. Those men think, then I might as well just stay at home with my parents and play video games. What is there to fight for? They are disillusioned about their own country. They realize that to rich men and politicians, their lives are worthless. Those politicians would rather import some poor third worlders than pay a little bit better for their own citizens. Once again, even the double-digit IQ, oofy doofy, subpar men realize that. Realize that to the people you serve, your life means nothing. Nothing. There is no country. Nothing to fight for. I had made a poll asking you, what would you do if your country got invaded? 82% said, nah man, I would just depart to another country. And guys, I specifically worded to get, yes, I would stay and fight vote as high as possible. I tried to set you guys up for the video I was making. I was gonna flame you guys. I was thinking, okay, 50%, 60% is gonna say, yes, I would stay and fight, and I was gonna call you out. But even you guys, 82% said, no man, I'm out. And in the comments, you would see people saying, Rehab, dude, fight for what? This country doesn't even feel like ours anymore. If there was a country, a nation left, sure, but what am I gonna fight for? True, I can't even say anything. What are you gonna fight for? Then you have women, considering 70%, 80% of men as non-dateable. They're all chasing certain type of men, Even if you manage to get into a relationship after enough amount of clown maxing and oofy doofy maxing, she will be around a little bit, reluctantly, for a couple months, and then find someone else. Someone better. 80% of yous are not in the clear. When you are not entertaining her anymore, she will find someone else. She will move on, like ordering a pizza on your phone. It is easier for a woman to get a new boyfriend than for you to order a pizza. I mean, I'm not even joking. This is very well known. I mean, everybody knows this. It is real, of course. At least you have to do the ordering when you are ordering a pizza. You don't have hundreds of pizza delivery guys blowing up your phone. This is the situation. This is the situation, bro. Not even only sub-average men, even for a lot of average men. It is easier for females to get into STEM positions today. They can date up whenever they want very easily again. Then there is no social stigma against women being single, even into their late 30s. Forget about the social stigma. This is encouraged, guys. This is seen as a point of pride. Mainstream media is encouraging this. You know, being a boss girl who don't need no man. So what purpose does the oofy-doofy men serve, who make 40k, 50k a year? So instead of wage slaving, they just bitch out.
You can't remain strong all the time in life. Sometimes you just gotta sit on your behind and be a bitch, you know.
And on top of all that I've just mentioned, now social media is plagued with influencers like Andrew Tate who flaunt their lifestyles, which makes you feel some kind of way. You wake up every morning to join some BS meeting, online meeting. Meanwhile, those guys are living the life. Oofy doofies take the subway to go to the office or has to wait in traffic to commute. Meanwhile, Chet takes his private jet to travel around the world. You watch adult content all alone in your condo, eating microwavable food for one. Meanwhile, Chad is banging some hot woman in Dubai, whining and dining in the finest restaurants of the world. How are you gonna motivate the guy to bust his ass for 30k, 40k a year when what truly motivates man is just not there anymore? A lot of people just don't want to have these uncomfortable conversations that need to be had if you want to get to the bottom of this.
Someone has to fucking flip the burgers, dumbass.
So in terms of future jobs that you would like to do after you graduate, what are you looking for?
I'm an Andrew Tate fan, so jobs are for losers.
Pardon?
By the way, once again, I want to make this clear. I know that these are not feasible. Cutting into corporate profits and, changing the social landscape. That ain't gonna happen. These are not feasible, unfortunately. So I am not coping like those MTOW people. Oh, we are rebuilding the patriarchy. Men are winning. How are we winning, man? Young men ain't even looking to work. You have a generation where women work and live alone, and it is men sitting on their behinds with their mommy and daddy at age 30, 35. How is this winning? What are you talking about, bro? Oh, women are losing, they are going crazy rehab because I am going MTOW. Sure. So I am not under any illusions, unlike those MTOW community. There ain't no going back to the social order of 50s and 60s. I would prefer things to be the way they used to be in the 50s, but they won't be. They simply won't. So I am not sure what is gonna happen, guys. I am not sure what will be the consequences, social consequences in the future. Unlike some people, I don't believe in all that, apocalypse theories. Oh, the world is gonna end, bro. If you believe in all that apocalypse theories, you underestimate people's ability to take BS without rebelling and revolting. How many times, guys, without, oh, that wouldn't happen, not a chance. People wouldn't let that go that far. But when you look at it now, the worst has happened. The worst. You shouldn't overrate the Oofy Doofy. Oofy Doofy is a pitiful being, bruh. Nor should you expect much from them. The most they did, a couple days of protesting in the godforsaken small towns of the UK. And they went back to their football games to cheer for the Oofy Doofy United. You protested a couple days, changed absolutely nothing at all, and went straight back to the Oofy Doofy arena to cheer for the international multimillionaire athletes that are begging 8++ white Stacys that you couldn't even dream of talking to, not even in your dreams. You really showed them, bro. Now you can go back to worshipping those multimillionaire international athletes that are running through A++ white chicks, Back to business as usual. Guys, never expect much from the Oofy Doofy. That is why I am not hopeful. I don't believe in that yet another MTOW cop of, oh, this is not sustainable. This is very sustainable, brother. I hate to break it to you. And you will see how sustainable it is. You will see. It is so sustainable that we'll keep you making those 7-hour-long MTOW live streams for another 50 years. That is how sustainable it is. Because I know the fabric of those oofy doofy men. Oofy doofy, you can never expect anything from them. Guys, never underestimate how low the oofy doofy can stoop. Like, you could literally bring millions more. Your government could literally let in another 10 million. They say 10 million, right? Those, I don't know the numbers exactly, but that 10 million number going around. If your government imports another 10 million cheap labor force tomorrow in just one day, you will see that still nothing happens. Still nothing, bro. At most, they will go protest, a couple days, and then go back home to worship some athlete who's running through British girls. Guys, like, I'm not even joking. If Keir Starmer goes on TV live right now, shows a paper, right? Public announcement, shows a paper, holds a paper to the camera, says, "My fellow citizens, I sold out. I changed my stance. I signed into law tomorrow, effective tomorrow, I am importing 10 million workers. That will work for peanuts. I did it, guys. I actually did it, my citizens. I sold out. I gave the country away." Holds the paper, shows the paper to the camera, says, "I gave the country away, guys. I signed it into law. Tomorrow, 10 million people, 10 million workers from Nicaragua are gonna be here. They are on the planes as we speak right now." Guys, I am telling you this now. Nothing is gonna happen even then. Even then. A few protests are gonna break out here and there. They are gonna burn a couple police cars, get wasted. They are gonna throw some beer bottles at some Indian shop. And then they are gonna be like, "Okay, bro, we surely show them, right? Let's go home. We don't wanna miss the Oofy Doofy game. Oofy Doofy versus the Beta Box Deluxe is gonna start in 20. Let's go home." Guys, I am telling you, nothing is gonna happen even then. Because I know what kind of men Oofy Doofies are. I know them. So I don't know. I don't know how much worse this can get. And I'm also not sure what the response and consequences is gonna be. Because guys, I have come to expect nothing. Absolutely nothing from Oofy Doofies. And still get disappointed. But yeah, don't be a free agent in life.